Teresa Richard. I am from Spain. I practice yoga for, I don't know now, maybe more than 15 years. And I started practicing Hatha yoga, but then I moved to the Ashtanga yoga. But I've practiced also Yin yoga and some other modalities or branches or whatever. But that has only give me perspective of how yoga is presented nowadays in the world, and especially a very westernized and globalized world. But it also gave me the opportunity of being curious about India, coming to Kerala, meeting Dr. Rishi Sagar and Rita, and getting in touch with beautiful communities, especially here in Kerala. So that's me, and that's why I'm in this video. I don't think I can give a very rational answer to that. It was something that just happened. During the years that I have been practicing yoga and through my connection with India also, I would say that I've been realizing more and more that things are not so much under our control, although we might think they are. So we move in a direction we actually might have to move. So there must be a connection with India that feels very natural to me. Actually, the first time that I came to India, I went to the north and I went with people, and it was very shocking. But when I came the second time, naturally I ended up out of very unusual insights, ended up in Trivandrum, and as soon as I arrived to Kerala, I felt quite much at home. I was planning to stay for 1 month, and after that I wasn't sure if I was going to be just moving around Southeast Asia or what was going to happen, and I ended up spending 5 months in Kerala, in Trivandrum mostly. So I felt home, and that is a very strong connection. So that motivated me to come back. I also made very supportive and important relationships with people here that have remained over 12 years now. So, and everywhere in India, I feel that there's a welcoming for me, even with difficulties. It's a welcoming place and a supportive place, and you always want to come back home, right? So I guess that's the reason why. That is a very long answer kind of question, because the word yoga has been overused and abused. So depending on the context, when you're saying yoga, you're saying actually different things. So if I say that I just finished my yoga practice, I'm probably talking about doing my chanting, which is part of my bhakti practice, or doing my asana practice. And then it is, I'm not going to say shallow, but it's like a very basic expression of the yoga. And if you're talking in a more philosophical or spiritual context, then you are talking of something else. So I guess that most of the discussions about what yoga is or not are a little meaningless as long as in your heart the place that either the practice of yoga or the feeling of yoga as union with others, with nature, or with God, or whatever expression of the divinity that you connect with is real, and the intention is as pure as we are able in our limitations. So yeah, it is ultimately is that union, that longing for the union with the divine, that trying to get into that space humbly. We probably won't be doing that well, but you know that there's that possibility that it is there and we cannot completely grasp it. We do things to get there. When I was in my 30s and I was working for the bank and then I was working in a union and apparently I had everything I could need. Like I have my apartment, I was in a very comfortable position, like in terms of work. I had some independency and I was fighting for what I believed that was fair, but I could also see that that was absolutely empty. I was sitting at tables in which I could see clearly that nothing was happening. So once I mean, I knew that before, but one thing is knowing it, and one thing is being there and seeing it with your eyes. Then you cannot unsee it. So at that point, I realized that if I kept doing that, I was being part of it. I was being part of a lie that was starting to be too heavy for me to hold. And even if I probably wasn't 100% aware of how heavy that was being for me, it felt completely effortless, taking the opportunity of living and practicing yoga and trying to deepen my understanding of the whole system and my practice. And the opportunity was there, so it became very easy. Many of my friends would say like, "Oh, you're very brave because you're doing this," and I would be like, "Actually, for me, the brave thing would have been staying where I didn't want to be." Um, so yeah, in terms of practicalities, even nowadays, I mean, I'm not getting any younger, and sometimes it's not financially the easiest way, but as I said before, yoga is not a business. So I have to trust that if Krishna wants me to keep doing this, then I will get, even if it's just enough to keep going. And if that's not the case and I need to learn that lesson, then I will just keep practicing on my own and find a basic job that can support me without doing any more. That's not the important thing. It's more a matter of personal integrity. So I guess that once that you give that step, if it's true, it's done. There's no regret or way back. Yeah, there is a difference when you start practicing yoga, but I also guess that it is not the same for everyone because we have so different paths and also the way that we connect with whatever activities that we do in our lives and our intention. It's not only different, it changes and it evolves, and then you take responsibility of what you're doing in a different way. So when I started practicing yoga, I actually didn't even want to practice yoga. That was for crazy people. Um, but as soon as I started, I could realize that it was having a very, very beneficial impact in my health, but not only the physical health, but also in making me more able to be aware from a more detached point of view. And that was just out of the asana practice and a little bit more than that. So realizing that, it was very easy for me to make room in my life for that practice. At that point, I was working in a corporate, in a bank, and I was part of a union also. So let's say that part of your character, it doesn't really change that much. What I was doing, I was trying to do it in the best possible way and in service to others. I was just probably not serving the right master or putting my energies in a more beneficial direction. But you are within a social cultural context in which you really believe that you have to fit in your family, in your business environment, in your friends' environment, and that's what I was doing. But it was probably set for me to leave all of that, and it matched the time where I took started slowly taking that commitment of practice, that I started moving in another direction. So there were a lot of my patterns that changed. Like I was going to sleep very late and partying to my practice, or to chant or visit ashram and soak the protection of a spiritual guru around me. So yeah, definitely it's like my essence hasn't changed that much, but the direction that my energy is pointing to, it's that's what changed better or more with the yoga practice, and it keeps changing because there are so many layers to peel. I guess that by nature, I'm a passionate person. When I find something that is either interesting or useful, I become invested in it, right? So the thing is that the yoga is a science, an art, and that connects the divine and the human. It's one of the ways that you can have to navigate the human experience, to realize that we are um, part of the divine, and that we are connected to God, and to be able to also accept that control from the divine and just be in service to a bigger plan. So when I started practicing yoga, I wasn't feeling that way even. So that was one of the biggest changes that happened. And I felt that that was an incredible gift, just connecting with faith. And that alone is just like, how, why would I just change that? That's the biggest commitment you can have, to realize you have an impossible gift and that you can use it in different ways. And it doesn't mean that for some people it will be being, yeah, a monk and just hiding in a cave and meditating there. For other people will be being a nurse and taking care of people. Other people don't have a choice, and they have very basic and terrible works, and that's what they do. And if they're doing it with not heaviness in their heart, they are doing very well. So I have been given a very unique privilege of connecting with the yoga practice and connecting to really inspiring and real teachers, which are more and more difficult to find. You just have to look at them and feel that they are speaking the truth. Um, People who are speaking the truth don't need to justify all the time everything they say, because truth has a weight on its own, and you can recognize that. So I had all those privileges, and you cannot change privilege. You come to this life and you might have some privilege or not. The important thing is, what are you doing with that? So once you realize, you cannot say you don't realize, and that, from my point of view, is just creating a commitment. Also, as you practice, your awareness refines and your perspective changes and broadens up. So even if sometimes it is a heavy process, emotionally speaking, or psychologically speaking, or even in relationship with others, it is definitely endless for a human perspective. It's always bigger than what I will can grasp in one or many lifetimes. So it has more than enough to keep me interested, curious, and the devotional aspect of it is also endless. Is the more you try to give and the more you try to offer and to share and to love. It's not like you're giving and then you have less. You're giving and then you have more, and that just keeps flowing. So it becomes very natural. It's completely effortless. So I'm not really sure that the way that yoga is depicted right now in society is fair. Um, so I feel that it is really supportive and encouraging and empowering for everyone, and especially for women, but not only. It's a practice that it's helping you change your perspective, accepting things as they are, and breathing in uncomfortable positions, which we will have to face through life. So it is convenient and beneficial for many different reasons, but it takes discipline, and it is not easy, especially at first. So I understand that that is discouraging for younger people and practitioners. If you find a teacher who is inspiring to you, just make that little effort because it will pay. Even if you stop for some time because of your studies or because suddenly growing up you think that it's a silly thing to do, you can resume anytime and the yoga will take you in, and very fast you will be again being carried in the right direction. I guess that there is a lot of expectations around the yoga, both financially, like if it's a business, and in the in a transactional way, like we do with everything else. Like if you practice, you're gonna be healthy like this. If you practice, you're gonna be this like that. That is, you cannot promise that kind of thing. It will have effects, but our body is not like an assembling machine. We are one tissue that has become specialized in different areas. So sometimes when we are uncomfortable in one place, it is actually because something is rebalancing, and in that process we go through uncomfortable stages. So there is a lot of trust to put in the process and taking it seriously, but without heaviness. It's not the same thing. But it is really worth it. And if you feel that you are enjoying it, it's not to enjoy, but if you feel that you enjoy it or that you have a connection with it, just don't care too much about what other people say. And yeah, I think that the very important thing about it is that don't think about it as a business. Yoga is a spiritual practice. No matter even people that are doing it because, oh, I got injured and then I am going to practice to become healthier, to heal myself, whatever. That doesn't change that it is a spiritual practice. The door you come through, the door that connects you to the practice, it's irrelevant. We come to things in the most strange ways. But once you are there, it is a spiritual practice. And if you try to trade with it, it changes its essence. The purity is gone, the real intention is gone, and then it is more of another thing. However, It doesn't matter where you start practicing, and all the teachers that are out there welcoming students are also having a function and being useful for giving an opportunity of people to get that curiosity sparkling, okay? So everything has a function and is valuable and it's part of a bigger plan. Just to try to keep your intention as pure as possible, and remember that it's a spiritual practice. It can really change your life. What I find that it is confusing, or it's becoming misunderstood in the asana yoga practice, even in the pranayama sometimes, is that regardless that it of course have like physical outcomes and results in terms of becoming stronger or this or this or that, um, it is not a physical performance. It is a circulation of energy. We have lots of blockages in our body, in our bodies. Part of them are physical, part of them come from even before our birth, part of them come from the way that we live, what we eat, what is surrounding us, but also emotional trauma or shocks that we have during the day. We contract, we're sitting all day. So some of them are quite physical, some of them are more subtle, but at the end of the day, they have a manifestation in our body. By doing the asana, you're combining breath, bandhas, which will entail bringing your conscious awareness to certain parts of the body. Also, some kind of contraction of some parts of the body. More than contraction, is an activation. Okay? And the dristi, which is the gaze. Where are you looking at? But the three things together are actually moving the energy. The prana moves with our breath. That is the closest, the bridge that we can, because the prana is not completely perceivable by our senses. It's not like green or solid or anything that we can pinpoint like that. We use the breath, but we also use that intentional feeling of that bandhas, and the blockages start disappearing. And that is why it doesn't matter how the asanas look that much. A good teacher will be able to see you and realize that you are stuck somewhere. And that is also where some verbal cues, but especially some manual adjustments will encourage, will give direction to the tissues. You're talking to the bodies, you're not talking to the mind. The mind can help, but the yoga practice, especially when you're going through the asana, pranayama, and that kind of techniques, you are trying to keep the mind a little aside. It's not that you don't use it, you of course you use it, but it's not commanding. The minute it starts commanding, it has expectations and making plans and agendas and stuff. And the more you can listen to what's going on, the more discoveries you will have, even from a very easy and simple yoga practice. And then it doesn't matter how it looks. That's why mimicking other people can be your only resource at some point, but it's not the important thing. It's what you feel that is supporting all that movement of energy. If you feel lighter, if you can actually comfortably breathe in that position. that is ultimately what is going to tell you if you are progressing in your yoga practice. Not if you can stand in one foot or on one foot behind your neck or, okay? I think that that is important to remember sometimes, and don't try to force yourself into achieving anything. That's not what yoga is about. It's about connecting, not about achieving. If you get somewhere, God's grace, be grateful, but it's irrelevant. It's not the important thing.